Hello, my name's Jason Pilley. I'm with the psychedelic movement here in Southend-on-Sea. So here in Southend, right, just over there, just on the other side of the road from here, we had the world's first ever amusement park. And then New York, just a couple of years later, New York stole our idea. They built Coney Island. It started here. And then just a little bit further on from there, we've got the biggest pier in the world, the biggest pleasure pier in the world. So Southend is somewhere we do everything first and we do everything biggest and best. So if you're lucky enough to find yourself in a democracy, but if, at the same time none of the parties really have anything to say to you, they don't represent you, they're not pushing the agenda that you're pushing, I think you have a duty to step forward yourself. So that's what I've been doing, that's what I've been trying to do. There's my politics really stretch from the left wing to the right wing. I'm a futurist libertarian, I'm into psychedelics. Yeah, there's no party that has anything to do with me, so I've stepped forward myself. My political beliefs come from all over the place, but I'll tell you one, it's that I was always really interested and really liked the hippies. I think they were great. I think if you look at the 20th century, it's a horror show in so many ways, and then in the middle of it you've got John Lennon getting stoned. It's great, and it was crushed. So I've always been interested in them and in why they failed, and partly it was because, as I say, they were brutally crushed and all the peace and love smashed. At the same time, they made lots and lots of mistakes, and part of it, I think, was aligning themselves to silly ideas of revolution, these far left ideas that don't work, never work, and they're not meant to work. They're escapism. Revolution is the opiate of the intellectuals. So I thought the thing they should have done is started a political party, trying to infect the mainstream. So that's what I've done. Every election I've stood in, I've said the NHS should have more funding, perhaps 1–2% more of our GDP. I think the NHS is wonderful, it should not be underfunded, should not be starved. So I regard immigration exactly the way I regard chocolate. I think it's good, in fact it's more than good, it's great, it's necessary. A world without immigration, if you had this group here and that group here, I think it'd be horrible, I think it'd be boring. I think culture comes from intermingling. All it took for 20th century art to be radically changed was for Picasso to visit an African art museum. So when you've got culture, and I've lived and worked abroad, I've seen it from the other side, I've been an immigrant really. At the same time, with chocolate, you can have too much of it. I think we do have problems at the moment, nothing to do with race, anything like that, but letting in tens of thousands of people, undocumented, unvetted, through an open borders policy, I don't think that's sustainable. So I think we should have a border force that protects borders rather than subverts them. I think there are difficult conversations that have to be had about immigration, but overall I think immigration is positive. So the cost of living crisis, all crises come about from lots and lots of bad decisions. So like, an interesting fact about this country, we give foreign aid to China, and we don't just give foreign aid to China. In the last decade, we've massively increased the amount of foreign aid we give to China. We give, over the last few decades, we've given tens or untold billions of pounds to criminal gangs through our criminalisation of cannabis. That's money that could be going into creating local businesses, that could be taxed. Instead, we first give it to criminal gangs, and then we have to fund the police to go and chase those gangs. I mean, you talk about the cost of living. We apparently think it was appropriate to shut down the entire global economy for about 2 years because a minor coronavirus was circulating. In a lot of ways, we've chosen to be poor. I think the issue about climate change is a lot more complicated than anyone wants to admit. I think there are a lot more question marks. It's something I've looked at and been involved with from different angles. So I think, for me, the best way to answer that question is to sidestep it, because there's an issue that overlaps with climate change but is separate, and that's renewable energy. It seems to be inherently obvious that a form of energy that's renewable is superior to a form that isn't. Using resources we're not going to run out of is better than using resources we are going to run out of. Using clean energy is better than dirty energy. So whether climate change is apocalyptic cold or whether it's an imminent apocalyptic threat, I think no one knows. I don't believe there are even experts in the area of climate. Maybe 100 years from now there will be, but we're talking about systems that are so complex, that have so many parts, that are interacting in so many ways. I don't think anyone has a clue what's going on, but let's get off fossil fuels anyway. I quite like our current system. I think if we got proportional representation, that would be better. It would be fairer. It would bring in people from both the left and the right at the fringes. So I'd support that. But at the same time, I think there's something very dramatic about our current system. And I think there's something real about it. You have a race, someone wins, everyone else loses. It's like sperm and egg. One sperm gets it, 100,000 sperm don't. It's not necessarily fair. It's not necessarily nice. I like our current system.